Hey guys, welcome to episode 42. Today I'm joined with Tom Brady and special guest JamesMK. How you guys doing?
Hey, what's up, everyone?
What's up, Paul?
Yeah, so unfortunately M2 Dave couldn't make this one today, but this is going to be an interesting episode because we're covering some, I guess you could say, controversy in the UMK3 scene at a tournament. And James, you happen to be one of the sponsors for this tournament. Is that correct?
Yeah, we threw a couple of bucks there.
Nice. That's awesome to hear. Sorry, go ahead.
I said, it's always a great yearly event. Basically, it's classics.
Yeah, I've been hearing you guys had UMK3 there, MK2, MK1, I believe Trilogy and MK4. And it's run by a player called Tadrusis. Hopefully I'm not saying his name wrong. He's in Ohio and they run it's called CKK, right?
CKK, yes, correct.
Yeah, so it's in Ohio, it's Classic Kombat. And they just had a tournament happen over the weekend. And the winner was Detroit Ballin. And James, from what you were telling me, is there was a bit of controversy regarding, maybe the equipment that was used, not the tournament, but I mean, players' preference. Like in terms of equipment, you have things like either controllers or keyboards or arcade sticks and all kinds of stuff. Do you want to get into that?
I mean, as far as how it works, is obviously these games were originally created and they use sticks. That kind of, in my opinion, is because I'm an old school guy. I feel that's the most purest form of playing the game. Then after that comes the pad, but and this is where, as much as it hurts me to say, it sucks to hear it. A lot of people grew up, I showing my age. We're not in the arcade era no more. So a lot of people learn these games on the pad. And then there's the infamous keyboards and hitboxes now that, make people able to do stuff that you wouldn't be able to do at all with either of the other types of setups. It's hard to tell pad players. I can't call a pad player a cheater if that's the only way you grew up playing. But the evolution of the hitboxes and the keyboard, it's kind of a different can of worms. I mean, Bill remembers the days. If it's in the game, it's meant to be. But you got to get to a certain point where you go, all right, enough's enough. Being able to hold back and move forward at the same time because you can put both the buttons, or be able to put macros on a button to make you do things quicker, is a little bit extra versus playing against somebody like with a pad or a stick.
Yeah.
Apparently what had happened is Detroit Ballin said, I can play on pad, I can play on stick, and he said he was gonna. And then apparently, from what I'm hearing, he came out and played on keyboard and wiped the floor with everybody.
Yeah, what were you saying? Like he had multiple keyboards, or was it just? I think who was it? Someone that said. I think it was you that said he had like 3 keyboards.
Apparently, not only that. Apparently, he had an N64 keyboard mod.
Oh, that's so pretty sick.
On an N64, yeah.
Oh wow! So you guys had N64 Trilogy there. Damn, I'm jealous, and I wish I went because that's a super fun game to play. I'd rather play that honestly than the other 2D MK games. But regarding this whole drama, I kind of want to explain a little bit of the backstory because a lot of people would be like, okay, so what's the big deal? People are using keyboards, whatever. Like, why is this an issue? So the thing on why this is different on some of these older MK games is because a game like UMK3 is based heavily on execution. And for people that may be not familiar with what that means, it's basically how hard it is to execute something in a game. Because of how fast these older games are and how tight a lot of the combos and links are, you have to be on point. And sometimes just a frame of a difference can be a huge reason why you miss something or you can't connect something properly. The new modern NRS games, a lot of them don't have this kind of execution. So if you're playing a game like MK1 or MK11 or MKX or whatever, it doesn't really matter if someone's playing on a stick or a controller or a keyboard, because the game at its base is pretty easy to play. There's no crazy barrier in order to doing most mechanics in the game. Now, a lot of people in UMK3 have an issue because not only is the game hard to play, but as James touched on, it's not fair because someone who is playing on a keyboard is more accurate with their inputs on what they want to do, whether it be like an instant fireball from Cabal or a very fast punish with, like a lift from Ermac or something like that. Now, here's where I want us to chime in on the details on why this is fair or not. And I'm going to go on and say this. I think that ship sailed a long time ago with trying to regulate the game and making it fair. And should we ban this? Should we not? Because when it comes to all this hardware and controllers, it's been like this for 2 decades now. I don't understand how back then nobody really had an issue with it because nobody was winning with it. But now all of a sudden you have Detroit, who's really good at the game, by the way. I don't even think he's winning because of keyboard. I think he's just been grinding and he's been, he's very skillful at the game and he's been putting effort into shows. Because now that there's a player dominating, and like James said, he mopped the floor with the players there. I didn't personally watch the tournament, but I believe it. If Detroit, steamrolled everybody, I don't think it's just the keyboard. Am I saying the keyboard doesn't give him a slight edge over other stuff? No, but I think Detroit is probably the best USA player in UMK3. So no matter what he's playing, if he's going to put his mind to it, I still think he would come out on top. What do you think about this, Tom?
Well, I don't think the keyboard. It's just so dumb. For the longest time, I've been hearing Detroit's the top player. I talked to Biggs. Biggs is like, it's Detroit right now. And then they go to a tournament and they're like, oh, but he's using a keyboard. So so people don't know this. UMK3 had a small resurgence when MAME was, people could play online with Kylara. And this is when Shock was really doing it, and he was playing on keyboard quite a bit. And it still wasn't a problem, keyboard or not. It became a problem with glitch jabbing. So the real issue is the glitch jabbing, period. That's the problem with the game. I guess they're saying it's easier. It's unfair when someone's doing it on keyboard, but you can't take a fault of the game and then criticize a player for the equipment that they're on being able to abuse that better, because the FGC will always say, well, can't you play on keyboard? Can't you play on this pad? Can't you play on that pad, et cetera, et cetera. I just don't understand why, if we know Detroit is that skilled, why it's now all of a sudden because he's on the keyboard. This is a debate that's been going on forever. It was put to rest. And now that people are holding tournaments for it again, now we're talking about the damn keyboard. Most of these people that play on Fightcade could, they're playing on PC, they could have played on keyboard, they want to play their pad, they want to play on their stick. I don't think if Detroit was just a good player that the keyboard would turn him into the best. You already have to be highly skilled. And if the keyboard does give an advantage, it's not enough of an advantage to take someone who is not an Omega top player and make them an Omega top player. Detroit is just an Omega top player, pad, keyboard, whatever.
Yeah, I don't think having a keyboard all of a sudden is going to make a player that's not that good at the game become a beast at UMK3. And by the way, we used to have players back then on MAME days that used to use UMK3. There were a few of them. Tom mentioned one of them was Shock. There was other ones like Winter Wars and a few others that I'm forgetting. But the thing is, like I said earlier, this wasn't a problem back then because they weren't winning. So people just kind of like gave it a pass. And by the way, this wasn't the only thing that was a little, I guess you could say, unfair or shady. There was also a prominent player who was, you could say, one of the best players back then UMK3 during the 2010s that was using a modified PlayStation controller that had a button on the back of it. They had this button modded on the back of it, and the player had this button so that they could do instant air fireballs. No one said anything, again, because this player that had this modification back then wasn't winning. It was allowed. Now we fast forward 2 decades later, and all of this is an issue because I don't know how much money is in these tournaments. But
there's nothing,
None.
nothing, not a penny.
Okay, yeah. So I'm just trying to understand, like, why is it now like an issue where people are like, no, keyboard shouldn't be a thing?
I don't know if it's as much of an issue as just acknowledging it. You know, like, I'm a firm believer in, listen, nothing's stopping you from using the keyboard too.
Exactly.
So rather than complain about it, it is an evolution. You know, and we've evolved from stick to pad to hitbox and keyboard to a point now where, yes, back in the day, you know, a Win Awards would come out of nowhere with a keyboard, but it was kind of a rarity. You know, it was kind of a rarity, and they didn't come in and dominate with it. And I think just the fact that somebody's dominating with it is kind of putting a spotlight on that issue. But, you know, I've said it a million times. Everybody in the FGC, especially in the freaking NRS scene, loves to say how they're these crazy competitors. And I go, if you are, why are you not picking the best of the best? Like, if you know...
He could do it on a hitbox, too, if he wanted to. There wouldn't be a difference.
Exactly.
So I mean, where does this stop? Can't play on keyboard, can't play on hitbox.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned hitbox because I remember during MK9 2011, people tried to get hitbox banned during MK9 days because people were saying, hey, Rio's only winning because of the hitbox. You can't do this stuff on regular control with Cabal. It should be banned, this and that. So after a few months of hearing that nonstop, I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop playing in hitbox. I'm just going to play in controller. Ended up winning more tournaments on controller than I did in hitbox. Then after that, people just stopped talking about it. I'm not saying Detroit.
They weren't there.
Yeah, I'm not
training they weren't there. I remember.
Yeah, but there was a huge ban hitbox move because they were like, it's too unfair. Your inputs are too precise. You can never mess up an instant fireball. This and that.
Because they weren't used to that. Like I remember when they were going over the patch notes, and you were like, you know what? I think with some of these changes, Cabal's gonna jump to like number 1 once they do whatever to Kung Lao, whatever. And you had just got the hitbox, and you were like, I'm gonna practice now so that I can be ready when the patch hits. And when you first started on the hitbox, because they made it seem like, oh my gosh, it's the hitbox. You can't miss an IAGB. Anyone off the street could do it. I remember when you first started, you couldn't nail a single IAGB. Like it wasn't like, they made it seem like any idiot off the street can just do this and this. And they just didn't understand it at the time, you know? And there was a huge deal. They tried to, didn't MLG ban it? Actually, or did they ban keyboard? I don't remember.
Yeah, I believe. I don't remember. I forget. I think there was an issue with the Winter Wars playing somebody, and maybe they did something for one of the MLGs, but I'm not sure exactly. But I do remember there was some kind of drama regarding a keyboard with Winter Wars, and they didn't want the match to count because, you know, they were using, I don't know, someone was trying to say the keyboard was modified, but it's like, I mean, how are you going to modify a keyboard? It has like 100 keys in it, you know?
Yeah. And they did try to ban hitbox. It was never banned, but it was never an issue for anyone else. It was just, the IAGBs, you know, so on and so forth.
And the instant gas blast, that's not an easy input to repetitively put on a hitbox, just as much as it's not easy to do on a stick or a pad. Let's not make the mistake and say it's just blanketed. Everybody that gets one is just pressing one button and getting 6 moves out. There is definitely a skill involved in this. You know, the thing that comes into question, though, is things like being able to block and move forward, you know, or being able to hold back, you know, in a Street Fighter type game and at the same time attack. You know, and that's the part of it that I think people focus on when it comes to the actual hitbox. Obviously, nobody wants a macro sim. You know,
yeah, see, like that's broken. If you can defend yourself from both sides on a Street Fighter game, then yeah, obviously that should be banned. It's a huge exploit. But in terms of MK, I don't even think in UMK3, if you hold back and forward on a keyboard, you can't prevent yourself from being thrown in both directions, right? I think the last direction you press overrides the recent one.
It does, yes.
Yeah,
yeah. And the thing is, this has been part of PC culture for the longest time. People have
Yes.
been playing fighting games on keyboards forever on PC, like forever. UMK3, especially UMK3, has been played on keyboard for almost 30 years. Like it's. I remember in 2000 they were playing it on keyboard. This is a long time, and now all of a sudden it's a problem. I just don't see it. Now, look, Legacy Collection's coming out. I mean, Rio, you already know people are going to feel how they feel about the glitch jabs. I remember me telling Shock, I was like, Shock, this is not going to end well. I said, if everyone knew about this, it's not going to end well. And and honestly, it's UMK3 will always have their own niche community. Legacy Collection is not going to turn the whole Mortal Kombat community into a bunch of legacy players.
Not at all.
No, but what you're going to have is those players are now going to have, a little more people to play with. Very few people are going to stick with it, I think.
Victim.
Especially when
Victim.
the next game comes.
Let's call them what they're going to be. Victims to the glitch jabs.
But I do think that it's good for those players to actually have that now on like Steam or console, and hopefully they add, because ultimately what crossplay, this is not going to be a tournament game. It's still being a game that people are going to play online. The cool thing about crossplay is it's convenience. Like, to play with whatever controller you want to play with on PC, maybe it's not compatible. Or to play with your PC stuff on your PlayStation or your Xbox, may not be compatible. You got a converter. It's a pain in the ass. There's a lag on the converter. You can play when crossplay comes in, which is why when Rio makes a big deal out of it, it's like people on PC can play on their PC stuff. If you're on Xbox, you play on your Xbox stuff. You're on PlayStation, you play on your PlayStation stuff, and you can all play each other. And it's just easier and it's more convenient. So hopefully they do put in crossplay. They say they are, but it's going to be a game played like that. So you're going to have people that play on their pads or their sticks or their keyboards. And I mean, it's I just don't see the problem. I mean, they hold one tournament and Detroit wins, and now all of a sudden it's a problem. Detroit has been dominating on Fightcade for years. I remember 3 homes ago, it must have been 5 years ago during MK11, and Nit is in Fightcade showing me what Detroit's doing, and we're in like the lobby watching him, and he's been doing this for 5+ years on people. What's over that? What's the problem?
And listen, the Russian guys body the hell out of him. He gets bodied by the Russians.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, with UMK3, with UMK3, the competition is pretty crazy, because I'm just talking, when I say Detroit's the best, I mean in the USA. I'm not saying like he's the best in the world, because I don't want someone to hear this and be like, what is Rio talking about? I understand there's a lot of South American players, some European players, a few Middle Eastern players, Russian players. There's a lot of players that would give Detroit one for his money. I get that. But what I'm talking about is, like Tom mentioned earlier, Detroit didn't just come out of nowhere like a few months ago, pick up a keyboard, now he's botting everybody. He's been playing since like the COVID days, 2020. I remember back then I also got into UMK3 a bit, and I was playing, and Detroit was giving me issues back then. I'm like, damn, Detroit's really good. And now if I play Detroit, I mean, I could barely get a single game off him. Like, he could beat me 20-0 because of how much better he's gotten.
Good execution. He had good execution MK9. He didn't take MKX seriously. When he played for fun, I played him a few sets, and he played Devora. His execution was, I don't remember him ever missing a cancel. Detroit actually likes the higher execution characters. It's just his skill set. He's got very good execution. And then you put him on something like glitch jabbing, and he's going to execute, because that's what he does in every game he plays. And I mean, the problem is glitch jabbing. It's like,
also, let me say this, because I just want to explain, because people are probably listening. They're probably, what the hell are glitch jabs? What are they talking about? So, and this is true, people do hate glitch jabs. It's very controversial. It's been like this back on Xbox Live days, when Mr. Archive Base was doing them, all the way till now. I guess now Detroit is giving people fits with them. But basically what a glitch jab is just code name for doing a jab while blocking at the same time. So if you watch UMK3 matches, and you'll notice, if you pay attention to people jabbing, they barely get hit out of jabs. That's because in this game, you're able to at the same time jab and block. Meaning, if you see someone jabbing and you're like, oh, they're attacking, let me cabal spin them to catch them and punish them, it's not going to work. They're going to be block your spin, then they're going to punish you. Same if you try to sweep them. While jabbing, they're going to block you. So in this game, which is unique to the 2D MKs, is you're able to do jabs and cancel them while blocking at the same time. So imagine someone standing there blocking, but they're actually jabbing. That's how you have to look at it. The reason why people don't like this is because when you play UMK3 at a high level and you play against someone who's mastered the art of glitch jabbing, it's very hard to open them up, and you kind of have to play that jab game with them, and that's kind of how the game revolves around the meta. It's very heavy on punishes, jabbing, spacing, all that. Whoever comes out on top on the jabbing, you get chip, and it's all about chipping your opponent out, kind of like how MK9 had a chip-based meta. So if you're not used to that, it's going to definitely throw you out for a loop because of how unique and different UMK3 plays compared to other fighting games.
And for those listening saying, oh, we'll just ban the glitch jabs, that doesn't help the game at all. Because, and Rio knows I had a problem with this, and Shock denied it.
Well, I want to say this, Tom. Wait, before I get into that, I just want to say this. Glitch jabs are a curse and a blessing at the same time. You want to know why? Imagine trying to play against Cabal in UMK3, who has an extremely fast combo starting spin move, and you didn't have glitch jabs. You literally cannot move. So in a way, the glitch jabs let you fight some of these characters, whereas otherwise you would just be stuck there with your finger glued to the block button, and you would not be able to move. Some of these characters have ridiculous specials.
And not even that. People might say, well, just ban the glitch jabs. You'll just run jab each other. Cabal has a priority low punch, which means if you meet each other, he throws you every single time. You try to jab him while he's jabbing you, you get thrown. I remember Rio was playing Mo, and I remember Shock was, Mo, the great Mo, and I'm like, man, I play these guys all the time in Chicago. These guys are not tournament players. So I got mad. I got off commentary. And I talked to Rio. I was like, dude, stop doing random spins. If he runs at you, just run at him and jab him. You'll throw him every time. And Rio was throwing the shit out of Mo. So what did Mo do? Went to the Cabal mirror. And I said, finally, Shock, I'm watching your game played at the highest level. Finally, I can watch this. Because run jabbing is just as stupid. We have low punch priority characters like Kano have a very high low punch priority. Cabal has the highest low punch priority. Glitch jabbing kind of balance some of that stuff out. You're not going to run into a random Kung Lao spin and get infinited. You're not going to have a Cabal doing a spin, which is one frame. Now you're going to die. You don't have to worry about punch priority. You guys are all doing the same thing. It kind of puts characters more on, not on an even playing field, but it opens up a lot more character diversity that you would have in UMK3 without that. So it's a blessing and a curse at the same time.
Yeah,
but that's just how the game is.
I also want to say it, in a way, it increases the skill gap a lot and lessens a lot of the randomness in that game. Like if you do not understand how to play UMK3, you're going to get... Wait, hold on, James. Let me just say this. I want to ask them. So there was drama, apparently, and this happened, about people saying block jabs aren't a glitch and it's intended in the game. I remember you were telling me about this. Do you want to touch up on that? Like, are what do you think? Like, are people right saying it's not a glitch? It was supposed to be in the game, or is it a glitch? I mean, it's called glitch jabs.
If anybody says it was supposed to be in the game and have been in this scene longer than a day and a half, knows Ed Boon is notorious for wiping shit out that's not supposed to be. Not nerfs and buffs and BS like that, but things that are legitimately not supposed to be. The reason this became a thing is because it didn't become a thing until, like MK4 going into the 3D era where this stuff was discovered in 2006.
Yeah,
Ed Boon is not going to go out of his way and let me drop a patch for a 15-year-old arcade game real quick. You just don't do that. So it's kind of like just let it rock.
Yeah, glitch jabs became...
It does not do any benefit to the game in the sense of making the game not look like a broken piece of shit.
Yeah,
because you look at the game. if you watch two people that are excellent at glitch jabs, the game looks like shit. Like aesthetically to the eyes, you see it, and it looks like two motherfuckers having convulsions running across. Like, just imagine you got into a fight with somebody IRL, and the minute the guy starts fighting, he just starts throwing punches naked into the air. You're gonna be like, "Yo, what is this? Daniel LaRusso? Is he hallucinating? Who the fuck's he throwing punches at?" And it makes the game look. I'd rather see a game of two cabals trying to take priority over throws before I watch a match where guys are running back and forth going, it just aesthetically makes it look horrible. And a lot of these people do say, again, with it's in the game. And that would be like me going back to whatever, Street Fighter 2 in the early days. And in the minute you're beating me and you got more energy, take Al Sim and reset the cabinet mid-match and say, I won. It's a bug. And that's really what it comes down to. Now, did people turn it into an art of being untouchable? Absolutely. I could do that with Guile and do the handcuff move in Street Fighter 2. Where it locks you down and you can't do nothing. And for those that don't know what that is, it's you throw a sonic boom, a flash kick, and a standing roundhouse, time it right next to the character that you're fighting against, and it automatically takes that character and stops him in a frame of animation, and he can't do nothing. And you can drag him around the screen until the time runs out. And say, well, that's in the game.
MK4's got a lot.
I don't even know that
there.
game had that glitch.
MK4's got glitch jabbing as well. You just can't do it in the corner because one jab pushes you out. But it's got glitch jabbing. It's got unblockables. You have certain characters that just can't block at the beginning of the round. So like Tanya will drill kick you and take 40+%. GG's. Start the round. Then you've got the same issue that was in MK1 when it first came out, where one person falls a little different than the other. Yep. I didn't know exactly. I remember I told Ketchup and Mustard in MK4, I said, hey man, one side can do combos the other side can't quite get. And I said, I don't remember what it was, whether it was gravity or height, and they tested it. They're like, oh, we went the same height, but they didn't test the full combo. And I'm like, brother, did you try the full combo? No, we just paused it, same height. They just don't understand the game, So you have one side can do slightly better combos than the other side, unblockables. Some characters
it was like a difference between like 15% versus 13%. It was just that little bit of difference.
Yeah, and it's just stupid. And then you have like, dude, imagine being Reptile and you're fighting Tanya and you get corkscrewed, or you're fighting Reiko and you get clock kicked to start the round, and you're like, what? I was blocking. So some characters get unblockable by other characters. There's still glitch jabbing. There's glitch step, which causes, other things that are possible in a game. And I just don't think these things are going to be. This is why I said not putting Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. The only game that's going to grab the modern NRS community would have been Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. Not even Deception. I think Deception would have been for fun. But I feel like to actually play and actually try to have like reasonable competitive matches, I think Deadly Alliance, because it's advanced enough. You don't really see like, Deadly Alliance is, DA is a little over the top, obviously. You don't see some of the same stuff, but I just don't know that UMK3 and MK4 is going to grab people. And if the UMK3 community is already having an issue with the keyboard, it's just going to bleed over to the modern NRS community, and they're going to have the same issue with it. So,
yeah,
just UMK3 players, you got to accept the game the way it is, and it certainly wasn't intended. It's not like they put glitch jabs in on purpose. They didn't even know it existed. Glitch jabs were discovered because when it went online, like the Xbox Arcade,
it was 2006 Xbox Live, where
it was so garbage online. People couldn't do combos, so they found this out by accident.
Yeah, Mr. I Got Base made it popular in the Xbox Live, but then everyone started doing it, and it kind of catched on. And now, it's part of a core part of the game. But regarding it, I mean, yes, if UMK3 were to come out in today's time, right, the era of patches and fixing stuff, would they have left glitch jabs in? No, they would have fixed that stuff in a hotfix immediately. But here's the thing. Here's my stance with UMK3.
I think they would have fixed throw priority. I think they would have fixed that too.
Yeah, and the game also doesn't have trades either. But here's my thing with UMK3. I feel like if you're gonna play a game like that, you kind of have to accept what's in it. There's obviously no more patches for the game. It is what it is. So if you're there willing to boot up UMK3 or sit there and intentionally watch a tournament, this and that, and complain about it, then to me it's a little odd because it's like, okay, well, if you guys have such an issue with it, why continue to watch or play it? That's just how the game is. There's no more patches for it. You got to either accept it or move on.
Well, it wasn't an issue until Detroit won, right?
Yeah. It's always a kind like Detroit's kind of getting the brunt of it, which kind of isn't fair, because he's been dominating. It's been an issue with people and chirped in circles, but it's under the breath. People are and I'm going, just fucking learn to play on it. If I can't get mad at Detroit for beating me with something that I have the ability to do.
I mean, I see the problem here. UMK3 players think Legacy Kollection is going to make this a big tournament game, and now they want to talk about. Let me just be real with you guys. It's not. Your game is over.
What do you mean?
It had its time. It had its time.
We're not going to get more than 5 people at the event.
It had its time. Listen, if you modern UMK3 players want to compete in the game, like on a bigger scale, I need you to get a DeLorean, drive at 88 miles an hour, and go backwards to 1995, because that's the only way you're going to do it. The game had its time. Yep. Many of you still keep the game alive in your smaller community, which is fine. To do something like this, when you guys were playing in peace for years and years and years, and now all of a sudden it's an issue. Like, obviously, you guys are thinking it's going to be a tournament game. We got to have some rules here. Is this unfair? No, it's not going to be a tournament game. The modern NRS player has the brain of a single-celled amoeba, which, I mean, all they know is overhead low throw. Overhead low throw. How do I open you up? Where's my mix? That's all they know. That's all they know. I mean, it's very difficult. You're not going to get them into this. All they do is complain about balance and tier lists and whatever. As soon as this glitch jabbing comes around, it's not going to work. It's not a game for the modern audience, No. And I know people will say, "Oh, insulting the modern NRS player." I mean,
it's a 30-year-old game.
Hold on. Let me say this. I think you guys are being way too harsh. You guys are treating the game like it's hot trash. Like it's not even worth playing.
No, it's not hard trash. It's not going to be accepted because glitch jabbing is. It was a point of discussion within the UMK3 community. What about the corner block infinite?
Yeah, see, here's the thing though. A lot of people don't. That's a whole another can of worms that people don't even know about. How if you get put into corner, you basically get block infinity. You can't move.
The match is over. Yeah.
I plan to make a lot of videos about this stuff, but the thing is, here's my opinion. I think this thing coming out the end of October is going to actually explode and be big for a while. I don't know how long it's going to last. Maybe for a week or a month or so. But I think it's going to be really big and the biggest MK game out for however long that lasts. And I think a lot of people are going to try it. And there's going to be a lot of attention on it. It really depends how the game is looked at in those beginning days and weeks for how many people are going to, want to stick to it or spread the word on if it's worth playing. Because if you see people doing block infinites, doing glitch jabs nonstop, we see 2 Cabals just standing there block jabbing repeatedly. Like if you saw Mr. I Got Base play another player that was playing like him, that probably wouldn't be the hypest match to watch. It may turn some people off.
No.
But you think it's just not going to be something that people are going to gravitate towards? Because look, think about it. So. The competition with UMK3 right now and this collection coming out are games like MK1. I mean, I don't know about you, but I think UMK3 is coming out at the perfect time because I don't think MK1 here is holding a lot of people over on what is amazing.
But the difference is the community is so 50-50 based. We're coming off a community who, even in Injustice 1, as dominant as pre-patch Superman was, a large part of the community was like, but why wasn't everybody a Superman player, you might ask? Why weren't there 10 Supermans in top 8s or in top 16s? Because a large part of the community was like, how does he open you up? What's his mix? They didn't realize how stupid he was. What's the mix? And then they're coming off MKX where it's what's the mix? MK11 is, I don't know what that was. I don't think anyone liked it. But then MK1 again, it's like, where's my overhead? Where's my low? Where's my throw? And whenever there's a suggestion for a character, it always seems to be give them a 50-50 or something like that. I just don't think that they're going to get into it. I don't think the modern NRS players, I just don't think they're going to get into it. I really don't think so.
I agree. I agree 1,000%. I think they're going to play it. They're going to see matches at first. They're like, oh, this is okay. They're not going to come out the gate and dominate. And then they're going to see glitch jabs and realize not only are you not going to dominate against the non-glitch jab type players, but now that you see the other side, either you're going to try to navigate towards it and become a glitch jabber, which I'll be honest, for a game that's 30 years later, nobody's going to take that kind of time.
And let me just say this for
nobody's
Dave,
going to say,
not here
I'm going to learn the
listening,
glitch.
because Dave always says I'm trashing the modern NRS community. I'm not trashing them. The modern NRS community today, in their modern games, where things are far more balanced than games of the 90s by a mile, in their modern games, they complain that everything is broken, everyone is carried. And then you're going to put them on a game that came out in the 90s? Even if they play regular MK3, if they get hit one time by Sub-Zero, the match is over. GG's. It's over. I mean, like, playing, so they can play regular MK3, they'll be like, what is this? They can't deal with zoning now, let alone pre-patch regular MK3 jacks. They can't, they don't like it now. The characters in UMK3 are very powerful. One of the best things about the game, what makes it so fun, is there's a ton of power in that game. An average character in UMK3 is ridiculously strong, but there's also a high execution barrier. Developers are trying to make just execution, just not character like Sindel. Oh yeah, how do I do her corner infinite? Dog, you got that execution for that?
Months of practice. Have fun.
Yeah,
That's how you do it.
Right, you got that. Yeah, exactly. You got the execution for that? No, they don't. It takes a lot of practice.
Yeah, so let me say this. Look, is UMK3 my most favorite game ever made? No. However, I do respect it as a game because, again, it has one thing I really enjoy out of a fighting game, and it's execution. UMK3 as a game?
Yes, I mean,
yeah, it should have an execution barrier. I don't like this where let's make things simpler to execute.
No, but what I'm saying is when you see someone play UMK3 at a high level or do some of this stuff, you know that they put a lot of hours into the game. You cannot see some random dude pick up the game a few days ago and all of a sudden they're doing, the max B&B combos and relaunches or Sindel infinites, or, they're doing that with 4 hatch or this and that. They have to all put a lot of effort into the game. So one of the things I like about UMK3 is even though, okay, you could argue the game is not balanced. Yes, they have to be invested. They put a lot of hours into it to get good at the game. That's one of the things I respect about the game. It's not easy pick up and play and learn shit in 1, 2, 3 like, some other MK games.
Yeah, let me tell you what's going to happen.
Something simple. Something
the modern
simple,
NRS community.
Come out.
Yeah, they're going to play the modern NRS community. They're going to play MK2, and they're going to say they hate defense now, and then they're going to play MK2, and they're going to say, "Ugh, not for me." They don't like lane play. They don't like defense. They don't like that. They don't like any forms of zoning, and they're going to fight Molina and go, "Ugh, I'm done." Then they're going to play regular MK3. That's not going to go very well for them. Oh, everything's broken. They're going to play UMK3. Everything's broke. Everyone's carried. They're going to bring that over to that game. They're going to play MK4, which is just a hodgepodge of a mess. MK4 is, and mean, maybe WaveNet. I mean, probably not still because you're still going to have the glitch jabbing.
See,
things
that's
like
the
that.
golden thing out of all of this is the WaveNet. Depending on what kind of changes they did to UMK3, WaveNet is going to be the go-to to play.
I don't think it's all that much. I don't
I'm
remember
And
it
super
being all that
excited
much
for it.
different, man.
it's nothing. It's
not that much different.
nothing.
It's not that much different. It's not.
Hold on though, but depending on all the balance changes they did and whatever they did to jabs or general stuff,
They didn't do that much to jabs.
They really
did.
didn't do that much. I mean,
No.
they really didn't do so as much. People may, you took out the striker fucking gun infinite thing. Okay,
that's actually
But
kind of back. A striker
glitch
needs
jabs
that.
Yeah, he needs
exactly.
it. Dude, Striker
Yeah,
was
out of
so
all the
goddamn
characters that needed
obnoxious.
to get nerfed, Kung Lao and Striker, that's already like wrong,
I remember
down the
Rio
wrong
didn't
path.
realize about the Striker, how his damage wasn't displayed incorrectly. I had forgot about it till I saw Rio.
Oh yeah, I was doing my video. I'm like, wait a
Rio
minute. I'm looking at the health bar. I'm like, that's not 45%. What is this?
didn't.
I was
he
like, the
didn't
game is
know.
lying to me.
He didn't know because in the arcade, Rio's like, and this combo really only does about 30%. It's not that much damage, and it's like 48. Rio's like, hold up, but it's not doing
No,
that.
I was like, wow, that's a lot of damage. Is that really doing 40% just for that? I'm like, wow, okay, maybe Striker. But then I'm like, and then I'd have to do the math. I'm like, wait a minute, this is all wrong. What is this?
Yeah, it was so stupid. Oh man, yeah. They're just not gonna lie. I mean, if I didn't play it so much in the arcade, and now I'm an old man, yeah, I might get into it. But I'm not a big fan of glitch jabbing. I had a lot of fun with those games. I love those games very much. I just don't know that the modern player is going to get into it. Again, the modern Mortal Kombat games are infinite. You hear this all the time. Dave comes all the time and talks about how much more balanced these games are, and that if you try to do anything that even resembles an old school game, what the people are going to say. Well, in today's game, you ask the modern NRS player, they'll tell you everyone's broke. I just heard Cowboy come on here talking about all these characters that are broke now or downplayed. Like, dude, and Cowboy is significantly more reasonable than most of the modern NRS players. There's only a handful of players. He's like, nah, this has to be toned down. That has to be toned down, which is fine. Some of these characters are a little over the top, but they're not like a UMK3 character. And Cowboy, who's a lot more reasonable, he's an old school player. He's older now, has a better understanding of power because he played some of the older games. The newer players, you would think like you're playing like MVC2, the way they act like all this stuff is broke. Then you're going to put them on UMK3 and then glitch jabbing. And glitch jabbing takes a lot of execution. Guys, you are trying to attack with low punch while in between low punches trying to buffer. You're trying to run, hit low punch, and buffer down, back, and block after every repetition. It is not easy.
Let me just say this. Like, for example, while you're run jabbing, you're constantly switching between running, jabbing, blocking. So you're plinking repeatedly. And then if you're playing a character like Ermac, you're constantly buffering
so that you can't get swept.
You have to hold down back blocks. So you can't get thrown, you can't get swept, and you're buffering moves. And while doing that, you're also at the same time having to buffer special moves like Ermac's telelift, and his telelift input is back down, back high kick. So you're buffering that. And by the way, these older games, many of the special moves do not have long buffer windows. They're not like the new games out right now where you get a lot of generous frames to buffer your move. You got to do them pretty quickly to come out. So you can imagine sitting there playing Ermac, running up, jabbing, and after doing every jab, down, back, blocking, you're also buffering back, down, back quickly in case you block something unsafe or you block a sweep and you can punish. This stuff is very hard to do. And then on top of that, you got to do the combos. And again, the game is fast. Anti-airs are good in UMK3, but with the speed of it, when someone's jumping at you, sometimes you'll freeze for a second because you won't be expecting it. Like, oh shit, he jumped, and you're not ready for it, and then they'll be, sneaking in jumps like that. So the game overall, look, is someone who's been playing MK1 or a modern NRS game that is used to doing overheads and lows and mix-ups like that gonna like UMK3? Probably not. But if you're a player who if you're a player who likes execution, practicing combos, having a reason to go to practice mode every day and practice for hours to learn whether it's the Reptile Infinite, the Sindel Corner Infinite, the relaunches, the very difficult like frame punishes, stuff like that. Well, you're gonna have a lot of stuff to do in training mode for a long time because if you're into that stuff,
training mode, if
Yeah,
you're in training mode, because people will be like, "Oh, I'll go in training mode. I'll learn the glitch jabs in no time." Okay, go in training mode, practice, 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 and when you get the glitch jabs down, now fighting a moving human who's jumping around, doing all that other stuff, and you're trying to glitch jabs, anti-air, whatever. It's the speed of the game. It takes quite a while to practice the execution and then the application and then put everything else on the game in that. And then depending on what character you're going to play, buffering your specials. It's quite an advanced game for its time accidentally. A lot of these games required a lot of knowledge and a lot of practice. It's not like you're back in the arcade days where everyone's learning it for the first time. When you go online, you're going to run in to these UMK3 players who've been playing it for 20 years, every single day, or longer.
That have never stopped playing it.
Never stop playing it. So
for 20 years.
Yeah, so it's going to be very difficult, which is good. I think fighting games should be difficult.
I agree.
I'm one of those people look. People act like they call it pro fighting game players. The reason why fighting game players don't want to have a pro league is because there's no cutoff. It's designed to say everybody can play, everybody get on the field, make it more accessible. I compare it to tennis. If they said, "Hey, let's make tennis more accessible," and when you hit the ball really hard and it goes out of the stadium, you get a point. A lot of people would be playing tennis, but they'd all be in the field instead of on the. They'd all be on the court, Jimmy, instead of in the stands, and you would have no pro league anymore. I think fighting games need to be difficult.
I'd be the Babe Ruth of tennis if that was the case.
I think fighting games need to be difficult. I think people are more accepting of power when it's very difficult to use it. You know, I think so. I think I don't think WaveNet has changed too much. I don't think MK4 is going to be very popular. Just no one's going to want to get launched by get hit by some of these bugs in that game. Highly doubtful they fixed any of them. They supposedly had a council come out to consult. Most of those guys probably don't know shit. Didn't play the fucking games. I don't know why. I don't know why you would bring a council of fucking people who didn't actually play the games when they were out. Stupid decision.
Really? So there was a council for what? The Legacy Kollection coming out at the end of the month?
Yeah.
What was the council for? Like a
I don't know.
balance patch or something?
I don't know.
The council was comprised basically of people who would I don't know, do articles on the game and say, I remember when I was 5 years old back in the arcade playing it. And it's like, you were 5 years old. You weren't glitch jabbing at 5 years old. You weren't doing all the crazy stuff. You weren't allowed in the arcade at 5 years old by yourself. So what are you bringing to the table?
Yeah, here's something funny. Here's something even funny. I don't want to say the person's name, and this wasn't their idea. It was NRS's idea. Oh, not NRS, whoever decided to do this documentary. So there was a person who was getting a lot of stories from the arcade era and writing a book about it. And the people over there said, "Hey man, he wrote this book. He's got all these stories, and this is not on him. Like that book is a great book. I love it. I think the guy's an awesome guy." They asked him, "Hey, you have all these stories. Tell him whatever." It's like, there are stories. We lived them. I just don't understand why they didn't consult me. They didn't ask Jimmy. They didn't ask TMK, who's been around forever. Forever.
I mean, let's be realistic. I'm gonna be the angry Tom Brady of the moment. Let's be serious here. You know why they didn't reach out to us? We're the controversial. We're not the one that go with the flow. We're the ones that tell you how it is, how it was. And sometimes people, because I remember listening to Dan, what's his name? The one that's fucking over there at Eclipse. Hemrick or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
I listened to him do his speech, And he basically said it's not about the competitive scene. It's about celebrating Mortal Kombat, which you really can't do that without it going hand in hand with the competitive scene. It actually talked to a friend of mine in the FGC who's from Minnesota, and we were talking about this very subject. And he said to me, yeah, well, Mortal Kombat was born in the Midwest. And my response was, but it was given life and showtime from the East Coast. There was no Midwest. Yes, the game was made there, given up for adoption. We took it and turned it into the franchise. And when I say we, not just us, but like companies like Acclaim with those marketing camp, they put this on the map. Make no mistake.
100%. Acclaim.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, Mortal Kombat 1 from Acclaim really helped MK2, because what happened is you had MK1 came out and MK2 came out 8 months later. So when the Mortal Kombat Mortal Monday thing happened and kids started going to the arcade to play Mortal Kombat 1, they realized Mortal Kombat 2 beta was there. So it was, and what also really gave MK a lot of life is Senator Lieberman. Mortal Kombat was the reason for those Senate hearings. It's all because a dad, his son wanted Mortal Kombat. The dad did some research on it, found out what it was. So there was no way for him to know what it was without him doing his own research. He worked for Senator Lieberman, went in, told him about it, and that's really how it happened. I'm willing to bet no one on that council has any fucking clue about any of this. So it's just, and look, I love the modern Mortal Kombat community paints me as this Mortal Kombat hater. The reality is it's biased because all these people, Tom, I've been following you since the beginning, brother. I know everything you've ever done. Okay, well, give me some negative videos. They'll be like, oh my God. And they'll go back over the last 6 years, since year 2 of MK11 till now. What about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? All right, cool, man. Well, during during ESL for MKX, they did this Who's Your Inspiration? And I had so many people saying Tom was such a positive inspiration. Love watching him at MK9. Love how he came to my locals. So clearly there was a long time period of several years of a lot of positive content. Can you give me some of my positive videos? They can't name one, but they've been watching me forever. So it's all confirmation bias. I love Mortal Kombat. And I did go to the Midwest many times, but there was a tournament league in San Francisco for MK4. And by league, I mean 15 to 21 people, tops, not big. But I went there at least once a month because I was trying to play a player that I heard about from that area of Western Canada called Chairshot. And I would always hear about this guy. I never got to play him. And even when the first MK site came around called Mortal Kombat Nightmares, before it became MK5.org and then Mortal Kombat Online, when it was MK Nightmares, I would talk to this guy on the forums and everything. And I'm like, man, this is like, 2000 or whatever. I'm like, man, I never got to play this guy. And I would travel to a 21-man local, quote unquote, tournament league, a local in San Francisco. I live in New Jersey, across the country once a month, trying to pick the right time when this guy's going to be there to play him. I've won many of those locals. It was a local San Francisco tournament. I was traveling just for that. Like, I love Mortal Kombat. I would travel constantly for MK, just within my region for MK2, every once in a while to some other regions, Florida, etc. MK3, UMK3 traveled for, MK4 traveled a lot for, because I loved Mortal Kombat. I absolutely loved Mortal Kombat. These games mean so much more to me than just a tournament to win. It was I just wanted to play everybody constantly, and I'm so disappointed they didn't put the 3Ds in there. The 3Ds to me were the most fun of all of them.
I'm such a huge fanboy of the 3Ds because MK Deception is my most favorite MK game ever made.
I love Deception. I remember I'm
not saying gameplay-wise. I'm just saying the MK game that had the most impact on me. It was my first ever competitive game. First ever game that really got me like addicted to MK. Because I've had the 2D MKs before, but I never liked them as much as, how Deception hooked me into it. Where like I wanted to understand how to play every character, be super good at the game. Like when you get drawn into a game like that, where you're just like, oh my God, I love this game.
You get immersed in it.
Exactly.
You get it. I love Deception also. I mean, I remember Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance didn't have online, and I remember there were several tournaments for it. A lot of the Tekken and Soul Calibur 2 community also liked it because it played like a true 3D game. It was quite advanced actually, and there were so many tournaments for it. But a lot of the Mortal Kombat community, MK community is always younger, and some of them couldn't travel.
I'll say this: it's crazy how uneducated I was back then, because I double dipped on DA. I had a copy of DA for GameCube and for PS2, but back then, I thought the game was okay because I wasn't familiar with what made something good or not with gameplay, and I thought Deception was the shit. But damn, now that I have the knowledge now and how I've become better at fighting games, I look back and I'm like, oh my god, Deception as a fighting game is probably like the most garbage gameplay I've ever seen. And even back then when I was playing it even back then when I was playing it in like 2004 online, I would get frustrated because it taught me the whole concept of what 50/50s were in vortexes, and I hated that. Yeah. And looking back now, it's like, wow, I cannot believe, like, when you go back to play DA, how much better it is than Deception, and how it's out of all the 3D MKs, it's like the only really good one competitively. And for that to all be overlooked back then, because it didn't have the cool stages, or it didn't have Noob Smoke and Deception, or all that stuff, to me is like, wow, how you just get like immersed in all the other stuff MK does, but the gameplay.
DA had a lot to it. So for one, the crypt mode was absolutely, it was the first crypt they ever did ever.
That was phenomenal.
Yeah, I love the crypt.
It was nothing but unlocking coffins. So you were constantly playing friends to win coins. You would win coins against the computer. Like Rio speaks quite a lot about having different modes of play to be able to unlock stuff. So if you played the computer, you were getting coins. If you did conquest mode, you were getting coins. While you were playing stuff, you did test your might or test your sight, you were getting Onyx coins. So whatever game mode you played, you were gaining currency to unlock stuff, be it skins, characters, etc. from the crypt. And the crypt was really creepy. I remember myself and Job, we would only go into the crypt to unlock stuff at like midnight with all the lights off. It was really cool, the ambiance. And people were like, there's people, you hear people walking and creeping around. It whispers something. People are like, what is he saying? What are they talking about? Noob Saibot? Like, what is going on?
And the best is when you would see little cameo characters running in the background, little snippets of them. Like, who was that? Is that Noob? That was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
How
was
sad
awesome.
is
the
it that the crypt isn't around anymore in MK1? That to me is like mind blowing.
It's
something
crazy.
Like that is removed.
It's crazy that it's not. But the cool thing was when there were several people that couldn't play, and MK5.org at that time had their own IRC, so it was no longer Pound MK. They had their own IRC that we could go in and chat. They didn't have a shout box, which was an awesome thing to do. I think that would, if a site had a shout box, that'd be great in the community again. I was able to talk to players. I remember Versa, who was a great player in Deception.
Yeah, by the way, Versa, in my opinion, was the best player in Deception.
Versa learned from me in MK Deadly Alliance. He just didn't understand what made things good. Yeah.
Wait. So you played Versa before Deception?
Yeah. So I didn't even know this. I didn't play him. I didn't play him. He was in New Jersey, and he was playing with a player there called the Rep Style. And Versa at the time didn't understand.
I remember Reptile Style.
Versa didn't understand at that time in Deadly Alliance what made something good, bad, how to tell the strategy that he's doing isn't working versus something that does. So we talked all the time during Deadly Alliance, and even early Deception, like Reptile Style, played them. The thing that I loved about Deception was I got to teach a lot of these players who were younger, like who weren't going to tournaments, who didn't understand high-level fighting games, like a lot of the Tekken and Soul Calibur community that were at these tournaments competing. And like USMC Ogre went to Deception and was just like steamrolling players. He just a good Tekken player, had a good knowledge of fighting games. RTD showed him how to play Baracho. He's going online, doing God knows what to people. It's a very young community. So in Deadly Alliance, on the forums, I would have this. I remember this thread like, "Hey, I'll teach everyone MK Deadly Alliance," and I would talk to so many people. Hey, how do I play Raiden? How about Reptile? How about this? How about matchups? This kind of stuff. Originally they just had no idea. Like they were like, oh, every character can beat every character. You get Movado versus Bo. I mean, God, when Movado gets in on Bo, I was like, what world are you living in, brother? I was like, you'll never get near him, and if you do, you're still fucked. I was like, what are you talking about? Like they just didn't understand. So there were several players who learned, and I never got to play in Deadly Alliance. I just couldn't travel like that. And then when Deception came out, and I'm playing them online, I'm playing Reptile Style. I'm playing a player from Florida called The Only One. He learned Raiden from a lot of the talking that we would do on the forums. And then when I would play this guy, I'm like, dude, this guy's really fucking good. Like, and it was just so awesome to play these people that I had this correspondent with over the course of 2 years, 2.5, 3 years, constantly never got to play. And then like seeing how they've grown as players, how much they've learned, and how fucking good they are. I'm like, man, this is awesome. I'm having so much fun. Was it the best competitive game? Fuck no. The game was absolute
Hell
garbage.
no.
But it was just that experience of
The game was just
which gets,
nonstop 50-50s, overheads and lows, and throws
with
into
the community
combos.
experience is kind of lost today. Getting sets with people, that kind of stuff is gone. It's, hey, let me get that quick first to 5, put that on YouTube for some quick content, bruh. Like it is. There was a big communal aspect to it.
Yeah.
Even in
Well-
MK9, there was still that communal aspect, but now it's just not there. Just Deception and Deadly Alliance.
Yeah,
Just those
so-
memories.
Let me ask you guys a few questions before we wrap up here. I want to ask both of you guys a question. So let's start with you first, Tom. Do you think this Legacy Collection coming out at the end of the month, is it going to be a huge success or a bust? What do you think? And then we'll have James answer.
It's going to be because you
Wait, it's going to be what?
on. It's going to be a bust because your video was spot on. Like people don't have patience anymore. The modern player doesn't have patience. Crossplay is going to be coming when? Coming soon. We all know how that works. Coming soon. My God, I hate hearing that now in Mortal Kombat games. It's not going to have a ranked mode. Like, what do a lot of the modern people do? They queue up ranked constantly. The modern players are huge into content. What do people want to watch? Ranked over and over and over again. So without a ranked mode, without crossplay, I just don't know how it's going to fare, to be honest with you. Like, I think it could be very successful depending on how quickly, and by very successful, I mean maybe sell 1 million copies. I just don't think it's going to be like, an Omega hit. I do think it will sell reasonably well for the games that are, but without crossplay is a killer, man. It's going to be a killer. I only have Xbox. I don't play on PC. I only have PS5. I don't have Xbox. Well, I play on PC. These players can't play with each other. And it's very like today, it's how are you going to hold a tournament? What are we going to do? PC only tournaments? You're going to alienate the Xbox players and the PS players? PS tournaments, you're going to alienate PC players? The UMK3 community is dominantly on PC right now. Like, it's very difficult to build a scene on these games, especially without crossplay, because more of the modern players play on console more. So there are still some on PC, but a lot of them are on console. And the UMK, the classic community, is the majority on PC. So you're going to have a lot of people buying it for PlayStation, a lot buying it for Xbox, and a lot buying it for PC. But the current community of UMK3, MK4 is going to buy it on PC for Steam. Without crossplay, I just don't think I don't think it's going to do very well.
Yeah, sadly, I have it pre-ordered on Steam already. But James, what do you think?
I agree with Bill. It's going to be a bust. I mean, the crossplay thing, the crossplay issue is clearly an issue, but what makes it more insulting is out the gate, crossplay does work between Switch and Switch 2 and PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. And it's almost like, all right, then why don't you finish it? And when the sales don't produce numbers out the gate, Warner Brothers and Digital Eclipse is already going to go to that point where they're going to feel like, hey, we had our boom, we had our pop, move on. And you're not going to get, unless it sells If it don't sell 3 million copies, they're not going to invest in it. You got to look at it on a business perspective and say, all right, the people that are my age, Bill's age, and even your age, got kids, wives, houses. These are the same guys that were fucking in the arcades throughout the eras, diehard guys. This is not the, oh my God, I got to get it. This has been a rehashed thing over and over.
Mm-hmm.
They probably have the PS2 version, the PS3 version of MK2. They probably had the Xbox version of UMK3. It's not going to sell well because it's marked as quote unquote just a celebration. And again, while the newer generation of players, it's going to peak in interest, word of mouth travels fast. And one top player saying, this shit's trash, is going to turn off and alienate the 10,000 FGC people. Now you're relying on your casual sales. And like I said earlier, they're all moved on. You're not going to see little Billy pull himself off of Roadblocks or Minecraft to come play Legacy.
No.
You're just not going to see it. It's a specific niche of people that played that you're trying to attract. I don't know, as far as how much was spent to produce and make the game versus how much they're expecting on a return on investment. But it can't be high. And like you going $1 million, I don't even think it'll break that.
I think it would need to sell 3 million for them to expand on it with the 3D games. I think it needs to sell 3 million, and then somebody at Warner Brothers will say, okay, let's go ahead and release the 3D collection as DLC. If it doesn't sell 3 million, I think they're going to say, it was a small pop, made a little bit of money, move on.
Exactly.
Those are fair responses. I'm hoping this thing is big and does well so we could get some proper updates to it, because when I said unfortunate earlier when I bought it for Steam, not because I'm disappointed that I'm buying it, but because of the whole crossplay thing, I don't know how many people are going to have it for PC, so all the people getting it for console, I'm not going to be able to play them.
That was your biggest point in your video. It must have crossplay.
Yes, that's why I'm disappointed it's not going to have. That's why I'm very disappointed on that.
And without
too.
Lobbies,
no rank.
Without lobbies.
Yeah, that.
What if it only sells 800,000 to 1 million? Warner Brothers might say, you know what? Forget the crossplay, forget the ranked. Just keep it as it is. It is what it is.
This is why I want it to be a huge success when it launches and sell a lot, because that way they can be like, you know what? We could probably make a little bit more cash out of this. But before they do that, hopefully they'll get to things like, let's add crossplay to it, let's add rooms, let's add a ranked mode. It would be nice they need a ranked, because all the players that are going to try it and want to get into the game competitively, how can you practicing it good at this game without a ranked mode? You're not going to you're going to be playing random first to ones with random people.
Yeah, you need ranked.
Terrible.
But first things first, you need crossplay, because for anything that wants to pick this up in tournaments, let's say Aquaman wants to do a Coliseum. Well, you got people on all 3 consoles or multiple consoles. What are you going to hold the tournament on?
It's going to be a disaster.
You're going to alienate the other ones. That sucks.
You're going to actually have to turn around and go, okay, we have a tournament for PlayStation players, we have a tournament for Switch players, we have a tournament for PC players. So you're basically going to split it up, and it's horrendous. I honestly just don't think it has. It never had a chance out the gate. Again, these games are small in comparison to today's games. So yeah, you got, hey Rio, get online. I want to play you with 2-button Mortal Kombat Game Boy Mortal Kombat 1. What? Who the fuck wants to play a 2-button Mortal Kombat?
I don't even know if those are going to even have online, the Game Boy ones or whatever.
And I don't even know why some of the Deadly Alliance games are in there and not the main title.
Yeah, well, I mean, I get why, because they want the handheld stuff in there, but it's kind of weird to include those. I think they save those with the other handheld ones, like Nintendo DS, PSP, some of the 3D MKs. But anyway, let me get to my next question now. I have for you guys. How quick do you guys think the players are gonna complain about the 2D MKs and say that they're bad when this comes out? What do you guys think is gonna happen? So like day
Immediately.
one or week one? Like what's the time frame?
Day one, I think the modern NRS player has convinced
It
themselves.
doesn't have to be the modern NRS players. Like all the players that are going to be getting it. So players that are nostalgic buying it, players from other fighting games buy it, and even the current NRS players, like all in general.
So players who are nostalgic buying it have a higher tolerance for pain because they played those games back then, and
True.
back then there was a book a long time ago which no longer applies for the modern era. It was called Playing to Win by David Serlin. And anyone who played in the arcade lived by those rules. Let somebody have his cheap bullshit, don't even cry. Find something cheaper, and then we see who's the one crying. That's kind of how the old school community was. Here's the modern community. I used to joke about it at MKX, where it's like watching two players argue. But like, yo, I want to mix you up. No, I want to mix you up. But hey, dog, if your mix beats mine, your shit got to go. That is kind of what the modern community is. So you have the modern community who has convinced themselves that everyone born before them is just shit as a human being, and they're just inferior and stupid. Nothing counts before MK1. Nothing. We hear this all the time. Oh, back then when it was easy to win. So I do believe that there's a certain ego. They don't understand how good the modern UMK3 players are, how hard the game is, and I believe there's just going to be a human element of, well, the game is garbage, it's broken. They do it to themselves all the time now. You have good players, he's not good, he's carried, that broke ass shit. How is it going to be any different in this game? I think the old school players are just going to play it for fun. Back then, nobody played it to be a top player, to make content, to do all this stuff. They went to the arcade and they played for fun because they love it. I think the older community is still going to play it. They're still going to love it. The nostalgia is going to be enough, and they're going to feel they got their money's worth. Newer community, they're going to talk about how broke everything is, who's carried, who's this, who's that. Why aren't you winning in modern games? You're going to have all the dumb, fucking, stupid drama from the newer community. Unfortunately, in my opinion, I think it'll happen very quickly. They're going to complain.
I'll say this. Sorry, go ahead, James.
I'll go with about 3.5 hours after release.
Yeah, that's very specific.
Not even going to give a full day. 3.5 hours. That gives them enough time to put an hour on each of 3 games, and then 15 minutes to write the tweet that's going to be bitching and moaning about how horrible these games are. Like Bill said, the newer generation of players are going to go heavy ham on crying. The nostalgic players, this is where I differ. The nostalgic players that have been playing for 600 years that might not have been super competitive are also going to jump on the bitch wagon because they're going to start to see, because believe it or not, unless you were a heavy UMK3 player back in the heyday, it might be the first time a lot of these old school people experience glitch jabs. And it's now evolved into MK1, MK2, so it's like they're going to go back to play Mortal Kombat 1. And yes, Bill, Sub-Zero is now officially the best in Mortal Kombat 1. And it's the worst it's the worst motherfucking thing to see. Glitch jabs, and the minute you try to touch him, he knocks you down with the slide. That's it. One move in glitch jabs. It's the slowest, it's the least damaging move he has. It's a drawn out death. And you just got to take it.
Well, the thing is, though, I disagree with the older community, with you, because like you got people like Fate, for example. Fate's older school player, and he could just play with his friends. He could play with Dragoon or whoever, and they could just have fun. The older school players, they're probably gonna, play with each other, which is why I hope there's like a King of the Hill mode or something like that, just to kind of emulate the old school arcade when you put your quarter up. Like, if there's no King of the Hill, old school players are not gonna like that. Like, there's so much depending on what they have in this game, because like a King of the Hill, like you can have players who are like Fate. Fate loves Mortal Kombat. He's a casual player. He plays for fun, as does a lot of people that you see in his Discord. They play for fun. So I don't think the glitch jabs are going to ruin their fun. Fate and others who play for fun are going to play with their friends, maybe start a King of the Hill, and they're going to have a great time, and they're going to play away from that. And the older players who are competitive, they're going to try to learn glitch jabbing, and they're going to take it seriously. And you have the current UMK3 players who obviously are going to do that. The modern player, I don't think that's going to be the same experience.
I don't even think the modern player is going to want to learn glitch jabs. Again, it's and I hate to harp on it. It just makes the game look so fucking ugly, dude. It really just makes it look ugly. And again, it's not to shit on the skill, because again, doing these glitch jabs is a skill. But it's just watching two players chase each other down while punching in the air makes it look horrible. Like when you did like Kung Lao, spin, jump punch, miss with the spear kick, punch, jump, miss with the spear kick across the screen. That was a pretty looking combo. When you did the original, unlike the new age, the original Cyrax bomb trap and got that down, there was a skill to it that was even though it's getting done to you and you're like, fuck, you're like, yeah, but that's pretty fucking cool. Unlike today's combo system where, guys are like, it's too much damage. You had to eat that shit. And I don't think they're going to be cool. I guarantee you this is going to be like rolling back the time machine to MK9, where everybody started with the whole add nerfs and buffs and shit and armor. And they're going to try to cry about 30-year-old games saying, I don't know why this was even left in there.
It's going to be funny to see when it comes out if people start saying, why is Cabal like this? Why can't they just change this? Or why is Shiva so bad? Why can't they just like, I don't get it. Yeah. Dude, I'm going to say this. Look, to answer the question as well that I asked you guys, this is going to be so entertaining for me because, look, I don't know if you guys know, but here's some, people don't notice yet, but they're going to find out quick. Characters like Cabal, Humid Smoke, Ermac, whatever, they're not even the most hated character in UMK3. Do you guys want to know who the... No, it's not even Shiva. Do you guys want to know who the most hated character in UMK3 is that people cannot stand playing online that I quickly found out? It's Nightwolf. Who do I play in UMK3? Nightwolf. Now, for those people that don't know about Nightwolf in UMK3, think of a top tier character. He's top 4, but he's super brain dead and easy to play. So he's like kind of like a modern NRS character, but in the old days. And man, when I play people in the arcade collection, now I'm not even that nice at UMK3 anymore, but when I play people, I guarantee you I'm going to be steamrolling a lot of people, and they're going to be like, oh, hell no, this motherfucker just run up mash, do the shoulder, this and that. I'm going to be getting messages instantly.
Bro, I remember playing people in the arcade who were like just average. You pressure with jabs, do your full block string, and with axe, they would have moved. Nope, shoulder. Like, dude, it was so stupid.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I'm going to have to make a guide on how to fight Nightwolf because, man, if they don't know, there's a lot of specific stuff you have to do against Nightwolf. Like, you cannot just sit there.
Well, you're going to fight someone and someone's going to spam shoulder. They're going to dock. They're going to get combo. They're going to go, this is stupid. If I block it,
it's a huge flow chart. The character's very annoying to fight. But like I said, look, when this arcade collection comes out, sorry, not arcade collection, this Legacy Kollection comes out, in a way, it's going to be kind of how back then when I played MKX, the only difference is I like UMK3 more than I liked MKX back then. But back then, I used to watch a lot of, if you guys saw me, I was in a lot of streams for MKX. Not because I loved the game, but because I used to love going to people's stream to MKX to watch them play the game and eat popcorn just to wait for some dumb shit to happen for them to start complaining. Like, I remember I used to be in Katana Prime stream, Trey Pounds, even Sonic's, Theo's, Jupiter. I used to be in everybody's stream, either lurking or typing in the chat, just to see them get hit by like some dumb mix-up and then hear them complain or be like, yo, what is this game? Because that used to be entertaining to me. when it comes to this releasing, I can't wait to do that all over again. I'm gonna go to so many people's stream just to see their reactions of how they're playing these older games. Because James, look, the thing is this: when they're playing MK2, oh my god, they thought the zoning was bad in Injustice. Wait until you play against Jackson MK2 or Molina or Liu Kang. Have fun. You can't do shit but duck and slowly move. It's gonna be hard. And I can't wait to see them play UMK3, play against Nightwolf, or play against some annoying ass human specters just mashing teleports, walking back all game. It's gonna be so entertaining.
I can't wait for them to play MK2
excited.
And get jabbed out of the air, and the jab does uppercut damage.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
But
Bro,
see, here's the thing. See, you guys.
That's hard to do. That's called a death punch. I've never seen anyone hit it like Nit does.
Summoning does it the best. I remember he was hitting it consistently, even online. I'm like, damn, that's really impressive.
Yeah,
I never still had to do that either, but there's some people like summoning that.
I've never seen anyone die. Did myself, Dream TR, high kick. We don't do that shit. Nit, I don't know how he does it every single time.
At will. Raiden, golden punch, jump punch, golden punch, standard punch, jump punch, Superman fly, boom. You just watch your enemy go whoop, gone. There's a guy on MAME, and this is going to really piss people off because the kid's phenomenal. He's from Dominican Republic. His name's Ground to Pound. He, like Nitten with the golden punch, he's the only guy I see getting 3 and 4 ground pound. You know how you get the double ground pound? He gets 3 and 4.
Wow, that's hard to do. It's hard to even do 2 of them.
Yeah, and I'm like, holy shit, the guy's phenomenal. But you got to, and again, you got to keep in mind, us as modern era OG gamers or whatever, we evolved with the games. You play MK1 and you play MK2. Then after some nostalgia, you go back to MK1 and you play MK3. These guys never stopped playing these games.
Yeah.
Where everybody else stopped. Like, again, 21-year-old me, you're not beating me. It's like you said about years ago, Bill, you said something about like, trying to compare Babe Ruth to Barry Bonds or Mike Tyson to fucking Muhammad Ali. You're not in the era. You could beat me and you can jump around like you won the Olympics. That's fine. I don't get mad about it. I'm a fucking 60-year-old man. But these guys never stop playing. So, it's like getting Mike Tyson 30 years later and he's still fucking 16.
Yeah, you know what this reminds me of? That time I remember when I played Sonic Fox in Injustice 1, there was UMK3 there, and he was like, oh, I want to play this game, but it's so hard to understand. I remember I played him. He was playing Sindel, Sony, and a couple characters, and I 10-0'd him. And then after he lost the bat, he was like, wow, I've never lost this game. I've never lost in a game this bad before. This makes me just not want to play because he was like, he can tell that there's like too much effort to get into it, and he'd rather just play something else because it feels like there's a lot to catch up on. Here's the thing about these older games. Whether how unbouncy are this and that, like James said, there's some people that never stop playing for like 20, 30 years. So for you to reach their level, you're just going to have to accept when starting out, and this goes to anybody playing these older games. It could be Ninja Killer, it could be anyone you think of that you think is like a god and untouchable. They play any of these older MK games, they're going to get beat bad. It's going to look really bad. But you shouldn't feel bad about it because, again, most fighting games out.
Years.
Yes, exactly. So what I'm trying to say is NRS games like this, most NRS games don't last year 3, year 5, year 10. Eventually they fizz out and die out. These older games, there have been people playing them competitively for so long that people are not used to the whole culture of being put into a game against people that have been playing for 20, 30 years straight. When you get put in that position and you play against them, you feel so helpless, like you cannot move, you cannot do anything. It's something you can't really experience in these newer NRS games until you play some of these older games to be like, wow, the skill gap in these games are even if I go and fight Kid right now, I could fight some of these players that are like S-Rank UMK3 that have been playing to it. They will demolish me and I could barely get around with them. That's how massive the skill gap is. Now, think of how much better I am than a lot of people that are going to be touching MK3. Like, it's enormous, the skill between players. So one thing I want people to know is coming and try these older games, don't expect to be good at them or win. Like, you're gonna get your shit pushed in. Like, it's gonna be bad, especially depending who you play against. There's no denying that. But let me go to my final question before I wrap this up to you guys. So what I want to ask is, which MK game out of all of the ones that are going to be featured in this collection do you guys think is going to be the most popular many months or a year later after the dust settles? Tom?
UMK3 or WaveNet.
Why do you say that over the other ones like MK2, MK1, MK4?
MK1 for the newer audience, they're just not going to get into MK1 or 2. These days, it's all about speed, fast-paced gameplay. I just hark back to me playing at GGA against 16-bit and then booing us off the stream. Like people don't want to see that. They don't want to watch that. Then I think the fast pace of UMK3/WaveNet and MK4 will attract people. MK4 is really fucking fast. But I think too many of the bugs, unblockables, things like that in MK4 are going to be too much. So I do think it is either UMK3 or WaveNet. I wish it was regular MK3. I like how specials are more impactful in regular MK3 but it doesn't have certain things that feel good in modern fighting games. Can't start combos with jump and punch. It just
that also turns people off when you finally jump a Jax or whatever. You're like, really, I can't get a combo. That's very annoying.
Yeah. So it's just too old. MK3. It's the way it's done. It's not UMK3. At least has some modern things that are still in.
It's fun and interesting though, just to mess around with because it is very special heavy on some characters.
Yeah, it really is. I think UMK3 or WaveNet. I just can't see anything else.
What about you, James?
I think WaveNet out on the onset because of the lore involved in it. And then when people see the final product, they're going to go, this is what I was all fucking hype about. I think it'll be the one that
I hope that's not me, by the way.
I think it's going to be the one that even, again, they talked about like tweaking the animations and shit like that. That wasn't nerfs and buffs to make the game better. It was because that you're losing so many packets with the internet connection back then, so they had to tweak it. It wasn't like they were trying to make it better. But I think the element of noob being a character, when people see he's only got one fucking move, will fade out fast. But I think on the onset, that'll be the most attracted one next to MK4 because of the fact that MK4 has not been emulated properly. And I just saw something that they tweaked the graphics to make it higher res now. But that still doesn't answer the gameplay factor. And I think MK2 probably is going to be the one that stands out the most because I think for the majority of classic people that are like the old school, that was the one that most people attribute to their best memory. So I think that'll be the one that you'll get more people sticking it out for like maybe I can't go a year out because I think that's given a lot. I think the game's going to fizzle out within 3 months. So, but I would go with MK2 as the primary. Or should I say, I'll go with WaveNet as the primary. That'll fade out. MK2 will become the primary.
Yeah, that's a good response. I'm going to have to say, I think after the dust settles and people, like, what are they popping in the whole collection to play, really, like, months later? I think it's going to be WaveNet. And this is me hoping that WaveNet is a better version of UMK3, because that would be awesome. But if it's not WaveNet, then I think it's either going to be MK4, because I think MK4 is hyped to watch, or MK2, because MK2 is like the polar opposite of UMK3 and MK4. It's very slow, chess pace kind of play style. People that want more of like a standardized, like normal fighting game may gravitate towards that, where they just want to play, like your move, my move, patience. Like I think that in a way hits home for some people. But yeah, so with that said, we're going to be closing it here. Any closing statements for you guys regarding any of these 2D MK games?
For me, it's for people who talk about how negative I am all the time. There's a reason for it. And you see how fondly I talk about these MK games. I feel this way about these games the 3D MK games, like Deception, Armageddon, Deadly Alliance, MK DC, and even MK9. And I still had some fun memories in MKX. It wasn't always bad. Like, when we would train or we'd be playing with Junior or we'd be at Yomi, we still have funny stories. You know what I mean? It wasn't all misery, even though obviously I didn't like constant 50-50s, the armored launchers, things like that. I wasn't a fan of.
Yeah, and by the way, since you mentioned MKX and Yomi, I'm going to say this. Out of all the things, even though I always sound so negative when I talk about MKX, this and that, but honestly, the best thing to come out of MKX to me was Yomi, because that was the best experience I've ever had and the best sponsor I've ever had for any game. I just wish I could have been into MKX more than I was, because you could not ask for a better sponsor than Yomi. It was it was run by a player called Reno Rax, who was usually when you have sponsors out there that sponsor people, they don't really care that much about the game or even part of MK. But Reno was different because he actually was an MK player and he cared about the the MK scene and that. So just want to say that
100%.
because that was the best thing about MKX to me.
Yeah, so we look at it fondly. It's really MK11 where like I was just waiting and waiting and waiting. Oh, custom variations. Oh my god, it's gonna be so fucking sick when they finally fucking give us this and tweak it and change it so it's usable. And oh my god, it's just gonna hit the fucking fan. And you wait, and you're like, oh, breakaway, not a bad idea, man. It's just a simple fix, right? Just delay wake up, guaranteed. It's just such an easy fix to some of this stuff, like fatal blows. Yeah, surely, yeah, no more pushback. Get fucked. Okay, you spent it, you're done, right? Like so easy to fix, and it's like, yeah, COVID. All right, man. Expansion. Okay, they couldn't get to it now, but when that last version comes out, man, they're gonna do it. And then they're like, change the variations. Fuck yes. And it's like, we just unlocked it. Enjoy. Like,
Enjoy.
I was like, man, they. Then MK1, when it came out, I'm like, what is this? It's not fun. It's not fun. It's not fun. So
I got to say, MK1 out of whatever the fuck it is now, from 1992 to now, even Special Forces got more play time for me than MK1 did.
Yeah,
that's how bad MK1 was to me.
Isn't Shaolin Monks in this one too, right?
The Legacy Kollection, no.
Nope.
No.
No.
God, what a fucking. So
you got Special Forces though,
and Sub-Zero mythologies too.
What I'm looking forward to the most is, just like I have these fond memories, a lot of people do. And a lot of people, look, you modern MK community guys, look, I would love to be part of you guys, but you guys just don't like me because the reality is people didn't like MK11 and most people didn't like MK1. I'm not trying to say it's bad, but if they liked it, you wouldn't be in the situation you're in now. And I feel like I'm looking forward to watching people play Mortal Kombat for fun again. Right now, I feel like I'm just watching people play it for money, whether it be in tournament, for content. It's all about, I'm playing it for monetization. I'm playing it to stream it, to YouTube videos, people aren't playing first to 100 with their friends. They're not playing King of the Hill for 10 hours straight. They're doing it so they can put it on YouTube, monetize it, or to go to tournament. And I'm looking forward to watching people actually enjoying the game and playing MK for no other reason, but they're having fun. And that's what I'm looking forward to the most in this. And I think that's something that has been sorely missing in our community for a very long time.
James, any closing thoughts?
I personally, and again, this is my arrogance, I think that Digital Eclipse had gone a horrendous route as far, and again, it's no disrespect to them, it's the direction that they're taking with this, for this little game. They could have did so much stuff that would have improved its marketability. Like I had said, somebody had asked me about the stupid Mortal Kombat Nitro version. Oh, is it going to be in there? No. Why would it be? You know, I said it would be a great idea if they packaged, with one of their special collections, or even just to the regular Blow Joe from Idaho, the original strategy guides that I did. I'd be willing to say, hey, go for them. I could have even talked to Penguin, who published the majority of them, and they even told me, oh yeah, we could do runs of it for you if you want. To bring the nostalgia aspect back to it, and like what Bill was saying about the monetization thing, early MK, you could turn around. You could take a businessman, you could take a construction worker, you could take a housewife, you could take a straight guy, a gay guy, and they all played just to play the game to have fun. It wasn't about how can I get an opportunity to make money. I want to make this, $200,000, these $10, these $500 videos on fucking YouTube, and that basically turned the community into a bunch of cash grabbers. So you lose that luster, and I don't think this is going to bring it back, because again, you're going to get the Maximilians and those guys, and again, no disrespect to him, but he's going to be doing his videos of playing old school stuff, and that'll last what, a week, if that, 2-3 days, and then he's going to get glitch jabbed, and he's going to go off stream and go, fuck that, we're going to go back to fucking Street Fighter, and the scene itself, needs to understand they're not going to the new age scene is not going to dominate. It's also not going to be worth it to spend the next 6 months learning glitch jabs for games that you're probably never going to play 6 months from now. So it's kind of dead on arrival. It'll have its initial pop, and like I said earlier, within 3.5 hours, I see the Twitter people saying, "Oh, what the fuck, these old school people with this bullshit," and asking for nerfs, buffs, and whatnot for games that, to be quite honest, it ain't worth nerfing, buffing, anything. I don't even think they can, because of the fact that they're just emulating them. I don't think they can make any types of changes to it. But again, people just need to treat it like it is. It's a game that's getting released of the classic games. You can go to Fightcade and play all these games, including at least MK Gold. Or you could play this and have it all in one collection, which it is a nice thing. If they had the lobbies and the rooms and all that other stuff, it'd be a hell of a lot nicer. But like, me turning around and go, yo, Rio, get on so I could play player versus player, direct connect. Like,
sorry, I can't get on. You have the PlayStation version, have the Steam one. Maybe next update.
Next update, that's never going to happen. Just, I don't know, man. It's like, I feel like people just got to understand that this was something that probably should have happened on the 30th anniversary, not what are they up to now? 35 years? I think, or 40. Are they up to 40 yet? I don't even know, dude. I'm fucking old. Whatever it is, it's an odd number that nobody does an anniversary for. So it should have been a 30-year thing that they did. They should have put an HD version in there. They should have put Shaolin monks in there. They should have left it open for them to give you DLC. Like, you should have made handheld version DLC patch, where you could download all the DLCs if you want. Not that anybody would really want.
I gotta go. I gotta head out. Thanks for having me on, though. Jimmy, go ahead and finish. Thanks for having me on.
Yep. Okay, well, I'll close out of here. It was awesome having you on, Tom. Awesome having you on, James, as well. Hoping this Legacy Collection turns out really well. I'm personally excited for it. This has been episode 42. Let me know how you guys feel about this whole UMK3 thing. Should controllers be looked at for Legacy Collection? So should people just adapt and accept it? What game are you guys personally looking forward to the most out of playing them? And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you again for listening.